It's a topic no parent ever wants to think about, the idea of someone harming your child.
We send our children off to school thinking they are in a safe environment while we work, and honestly, we don't know what's going on when we're away from them.
This week, an Osceola County substitute teacher was arrested, accused of inappropriately touching 6 young students after working in 9 area elementary and middle schools. The entire case may have never been discovered if a parent didn't ask her child a question. So the question is, when is the right time and age to have that conversation?
And joining us now is licensed mental health counselor Shantala Boss to help us tackle this really tough issue this morning. Shantala, it's always good to see you.
You as well.
I want to start off with this point blank, because when you think about stranger danger, somebody touching your child inappropriately, at the end of the day, it could be anybody, from your relative to a school teacher to the neighbor next door, right?
Well, I'm glad you said that, Danielle, because unfortunately 90% of these incidents that happen are with someone a child knows. Usually these people will try to get into maybe a daycare, become a babysitter, be in a place where a child frequents and build a relationship first. They're never usually strangers.
You know, and what's so scary about this is we've just learned this morning, Kissimmee police have confirmed 4 more people have now come forward with concerns. Again, no additional charges have been filed as of yet, but that also raises the question. Nobody came forward before, but it almost seems as if maybe there's a fear. Maybe they weren't asking their kids the right question. And that's why we've brought you in today, because we want to know, when is the right time to raise this issue with your child? Because they're getting out into the world earlier and earlier these days.
The right time starts right at 2 years old. As
2 years old.
Talking, this is the pre-operational stage of development, 2 to 7. This is when a child is getting a sense of their own body and their own privacy. So when they're in the bathtub telling them that, you know, that's private, mommy touches to clean, but nobody else touches. You can start those conversations very young. Yes.
When you have that conversation with your child, how do you have it, Shantala, in a way that doesn't make them fearful to get out there in the world, fearful of other people?
I think just helping them build their own self-confidence and self-esteem in their bodies on their own. They don't even have to give another child or another adult a hug if they don't want to.
And that's the thing, because a lot of relatives encourage, hug Uncle Johnny or
sit on my lap.
Sit on my lap, right.
Right, so that they have their own sense of their own body. And of course there are parts that are off limits, but then there's always this, they can always say no. They never have to hug someone, high five, you can give an elbow bump. You know, you have the right to your own body.
I do want to go back and circle back to the kind of language we should use, because I know when I had this conversation with my children, I was very concerned about using certain words, right? So I had to really think about, how do I have this conversation with them in a way that they get what mom's trying to say, but that they also understand that I want them to maintain their innocence at the same time. So is it don't let anybody touch you in a spot where you wear your bathing suit or something? Because that's the approach that the
bathing suit rule is really common.
Okay.
So telling the kids nowhere where your bathing suit covers. And usually they can point out, and they have names when they're young for those parts of their body.
Yes.
And you can tell them those are private parts. They're covered by your bathing suit or your underwears. So we do not touch those areas. But helping them to understand that, you know, sometimes there is a doctor or, you know, somebody who may need to look at them, but when is appropriate, when mommy's there, when is it not? You know, good touch, bad touch.
It's so interesting you mentioned good touch, bad touch, because I have these conversations with my children still all the time, and I have one who's a teenager, and I still have these conversations with him. What about children, though, younger children, who may not feel comfortable talking to their parents about something that happened to them? Because, Shantala, quite frankly, they may feel, I did something wrong, right? Should we be doing kind of a periodic check-in with our kids?
I think preventative, talking to them early on and making sure they already know before anything. There's books, just talking about privacy and making sure that they know and are aware of their bodies. But if we aren't sure, it's a good thing you brought up, like if a child hasn't mentioned something but you're concerned, watch the child. Like some signs can be if there's unusual play that might be somehow sexualized in nature.
With a doll, because that's the other thing too. With dolls, you're doing right.
Drawings, acting out with other children. If they come up with new names for private areas of their body that they have never had before, or they seem more fascinated with certain areas of their body than before. If they have shame in their body, they or who they are, dressing differently, kind of hiding, or a little bit fixated with maybe another adult friend. Any mention of secrets. We also want to talk about secrets. What's a good secret? A birthday present. You don't want to tell mom what the secret is. What's a bad secret? Someone says, this is our secret, nobody can tell anything. You know, it's something you need to make sure they know the difference between those two things.
Oh, such great advice. We are so glad you stopped by this morning.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's always good to see you. Thank you so much, Shantala. All right, Amy, let's send things